sucks. So there's all these new protests and people running through the streets talking about DACA, save DACA, just like they wanted to save the Affordable Care Act. And it's all bullshit, just like usual. That people are supporting policies that they don't understand, that fuck the rest of the country all the time. All they do is they support policies that they do not understand. It's a very simple proposition what goes on with DACA or with the Affordable Care Act. In fact, just like I link everything to Obamacare, I can probably link DACA and immigration policy to the Affordable Care Act because it works on virtually the same model. If you go and look at the Twitter or Facebook or whatever media account, social media account of anybody that you see who is protesting or crying and bitching about DACA, you should probably see that they fit into a number of categories. One, they're one of those bi-coastal, Burning Man type losers that they've never had to really encounter anybody that's really been affected by this policy. They might know some illegal immigrants because they may have worked with them or they've had one of them work for them in some sort of menial task. And that's really the long and the short of it. These are people that they want to make believe that they care about people, but they don't. Because about a week ago, they probably didn't even know what DACA meant. And to be honest with you, a lot of us don't even know what the acronym stands for. I think now I know that it's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. No, DACA was a joke of a policy. And I have to confess, when it came out, I didn't really give a shit because I live in a city where illegal immigration is sort of a problem, but it's not that big. Ohio is a destination for some illegal immigrants, but compared to other states like California or Nevada, Colorado, it's not that big of an issue. What you have to remember about DACA and all the other immigration issues is that all these people that are protesting in favor of DACA and in favor of so-called immigrant rights, which this isn't an issue of immigrant rights, it's an issue of immigration laws and how we process people here and how people earn their citizenship here. What we have to remember is that in 2016, the movement was in order to control immigration. There was no movement to let more immigrants in, and there's not going to be. All those people that are wondering why we have to get rid of illegal immigration and send a lot of people back. I'm not saying all the DACA people, but a lot of the other people back, a lot of these other illegal immigrants back. They always ask. Yesterday, I saw Carlos Gutierrez, who was the Bush administration Commerce Secretary. He fits into the second category. I kind of went off on a tangent there. I'll describe the second category in a second. He started asking, we need more of these workers. Why do we need less of these workers? Who's going to do these jobs? Well, what's going to happen when there's so many of these people that there's not even going to be jobs for the illegal immigrants? Okay, there's always a limit. In a lot of these countries where illegal immigrants are really flooding in, at a certain point, there is no infrastructure to absorb them. Not infrastructure, and not an economy, and not a workplace. It's a joke. It really is. All these open borders people. I spoke a couple days ago to Alex Ioannidis, a nice guy, and he's moderate Republican, and I couldn't understand his whole logic. His whole logic stems from his Christian theology, which for the life of me, I can't understand, but that's his right. And my belief is that it doesn't matter what religion you're in, there's always a limit to how many people can come into the country and basically flood the labor market. That's the way it works. The second category of people, and I mentioned Carlos Gutierrez, is these oligarchs, these people that are at the top of society, the one percenters, as the left likes to call them, that they need these people in order to keep their costs down. Their labor costs are kept down by a large quantity of people that perform menial labor for a discount price. And if they were to have Americans that were born here, or Americans that have at least citizenship, legal immigrants, if they were to have them here, they would be much more accountable to provide compliant working conditions according to Labor Department standards. Now, I'm not going to tell you whether those standards are good or not. I mean, I'm not an expert on labor law, but these Democrats, they want all these labor regulations and everything, yet they don't want legal workers. Shouldn't it be a legal requirement that, if you want to say workplace that's legally safe, then shouldn't the workers themselves be legal too? You could have somebody come in. I mean, who's to say that we're talking about illegal immigrants from Mexico? It could be illegal immigrants from Pakistan, and it happens. And those people, I'm not going to say why, but I think you guys can imagine that they may have motives that are very spurious and not very, neighborly, if you want to put it. I mean, all you have to do is deconstruct their entire viewpoint, and you realize that there's nothing beneath it. On the right, the pro-immigration right, you have people like Gutierrez, and they have a naked ambition just to have more and more workers that they can pay cheaper wages, and that way they can continue to just rape the labor market. They don't have any need to satisfy working Americans. As long as Americans are receiving welfare or other benefits, they're able to afford their products in some cases. And in his case, he was the CEO of Kellogg's at one point. And now he's working for a lobbyist group. What does a lobbyist group do? I don't remember which one. I think it's like Altington or something. But you have lobbyist groups or think tanks like Cato, and their job is to advocate on behalf of these, billion-dollar multinational corporations, which I have no problem with them doing business. But, how about you don't tell us what the fuck we need to do in order to get people back to work? Because obviously you have no intention of hiring the people that are already here. You're making that clear by bringing in people that have no interest in coming here. There's another element to this, okay? And I think this overlaps both categories, but it's more on the left. These pussy hat wearing retards. Why do I call them retards? Because the same people who for years have been saying that you need multicultural or bilingual education, whatever the fuck you want to call it, those same people are now saying, well, you can't deport people that have been here for years. They won't be able to readjust to their country of origin. They won't be able to readjust to Guatemala or whatever. And I have nothing against Guatemalans. I had a friend in college who was Guatemalan. Excuse me. The old cough's coming back. It's retro Ramon here. Those people that they said for years that you need bilingual education because Hispanic Americans can't adapt to speaking English and doing things in English, even if in some cases they weren't even born in Mexico or any other Latin American nation. They were born here, Cuban Americans that they're second or third generation, or Dominicans. They were advocating that for years. Well, now they're saying, oh, they can't adapt back to Honduras. Well, which one is it? Which one is it? How deep is this cultural adjustment when you claim that either way, that they can't adjust to the English-speaking education system in the United States because it's culturally biased, and then you say they can't adjust to their home country because they've been in the United States too long. This is really treating people like animals. If you think about it, this is the way, this is how liberals, and I'm just thinking about this right now, okay? So whoever is still listening, pay attention real quick. You have the same idea when you talk about these zoologists who they deal with captive species, and you'll have like an anteater that they've been feeding, whatever the fuck it is, frozen ants for years. I'm like just pulling it out my ass, but and then they're like, oh, we got to free this anteater. We can't. I mean, we're supposed to reintroduce it into the wild. Then they start saying, oh, we domesticated it too much. That's their logic. It's really ridiculous that they think so lowly of these people. And you know what? Let's return to the root of the matter. You know, a lot of the Trump voters don't like these illegal immigrants, and there's various reasons why that might not be the best approach to them. I think that, you know, the Trump voters have their own interests, and the illegal immigrants have their own interests. But realistically, this decision does not force people to go back to Guatemala or Honduras or any of those other countries. It, like President Trump says, and like his spokespeople said, and Jeff Sessions said, it simply says that DACA will no longer be a federal program. Congress has to give a legal ruling on their status. If they want to fully legalize DACA, then Congress has the authority to do so. And if the president is so hated, and Congress, both parties, they have such an opposition to it, they can do a veto override. They have enough votes. If both parties are so opposed to his position on immigration, they have all the votes that they need to force the issue through with or without his signature. And if there is enough for a veto override, then he probably will end up signing it. You know, because at the end of the day, we're talking about how the system works. Now, you know, the way that it could go down is that they may deliberately, because they think they're going to be sabotaging him, they may deliberately do nothing and then blame him because he wouldn't extend DACA. Well, that's not his job. And he will have, and he'll be fully within his rights. All he has to do is say, look, I gave you the chance, and I made it your prerogative, and now you have to replace DACA, or these people have to go back home, or something. Or I'm going to issue an executive order doing something about them, and then it could be deporting them. But then you have these ridiculous corporations like Microsoft, and I have the link in the description. They say, Microsoft to Trump, you're going to have to go through us to deport dreamers who work here. And it says it will stick by its employees affected by any change to DACA, even in court. Microsoft said any move to replace DACA needs to be a priority for Congress. Well, all they had to do, frankly, was say the last part, which is that they want Congress to do something about it. But these corporations like Microsoft, you know, here, let me share the screen. I know you guys like to read because you're on your computers reading the, you know, probably Unicorn Riot or some other fine publication, you know, maybe The Guardian, right? I bet all you guys are Guardian readers, right? Not so much. It says Microsoft responded strongly to the Trump administration's decision on Tuesday to move toward rescinding or replacing DACA within 6 months. There is nothing that will be pushing on more strongly for Congress to act on. Microsoft President and Chief Legal Officer Brad Smith said in an interview with NPR, "We put a stake in the ground. We care about a tax reform bill," Smith said, noting that the entire business community cares about one, but that this needs to be settled first. Smith added that it won't be easy for the government to deport Microsoft employees who are dreamers. The government is going to have to go through us to get that person. So it doesn't say, here it says, Microsoft said it has 39 DACA recipients among its employees, and that it will exercise its legal rights properly to help protect our employees, even if Congress doesn't come to a decision on new legislation to replace or rescind DACA within 6 months. In short, if dreamers who are our employees are in court, we will be by their side. So, I don't know if you guys enjoyed that, but the thing is that Microsoft and the other cuck corporations don't give a fuck about American workers because they've never, ever, ever, ever done anything and made such a statement in support of their own American workers. In fact, how many times have you ever seen these corporations stick up for their employees that are being downsized so that their jobs can be outsourced to other countries. They never do it because bottom line is there's two motivations when these corporations decide to do these things. One is PR and the other is profit. Okay, and PR is actually rolled into profit because if you can get good PR, then that increases your profits. So, long story short, and I'm not really going to be reading comments on this video, so sorry if you guys are tweeting up a storm or whatever. I'll maybe take a look at the end. I'm probably going to have a chat about this later, see if there's anybody else interested. You know, some of the previous people that I've talked to. The truth of the matter is that DACA is just like the title says. DACA is just another bitch fit of the Pussy Party. The Pussy Party doesn't just include the Democrats; it includes all the people that have spent decades doing literally nothing to solve anything, and then along comes a so-called crisis. And this is not a crisis. This is real life. This is just President Trump dealing with something that is on his desk and something that he made a priority during the campaign. And suddenly they decide, oh, this guy is a hateful bigot. Well, if Democrats and Republicans had such strong feelings about this, they could have passed laws while President Obama was in office. They could have passed laws during the actual presidential campaign, so it would already arrive at Trump's desk fully, that he would have had nothing to do because Congress would have passed it, right? So they wait until they get a president that's actually willing to, wield the sword on this issue, and they pretend that they have such a big moral objection to it. They don't have any moral objection to it. These people that have such a big hard-on, a raging boner concerning DACA, they don't give a fuck about the immigrants, and they don't give a fuck about you. They are people. Let me explain this to you. I was driving home today from work, and I was passing by Indian restaurants and Indian supermarkets and Russian supermarket. And obviously there's Italian food, but that's not really immigration at this point. But a host of immigrant businesses, and I think that to say that Donald Trump is going to undo our history as a country that receives immigrants is retarded. It has nothing to do with immigration as a general theme. It has to do with the fact that we have a massive program where we allow people to come in as unaccompanied minors often, or I guess in some cases they were just minors that were here with their parents, but they needed to get into the system. They needed to get services of whatever would be education. And instead of solving the problem and saying to these people, look, you have to pay a massive fine and go to the back of the fucking line and come back, they said, no, we're going to give them more money, we're going to give them more services, and we're going to basically give them full legitimacy. That's what they did, okay? And the people that were backing this policy, they had nothing to fear from it because, Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell, it doesn't matter which one, or Chuck Schumer now, but Harry Reid was the Senate Majority Leader back then, or Nancy Pelosi. These people don't give a fuck about immigrants. They employ illegal immigrants. Nancy Pelosi employs illegal immigrants. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'll even, I'll pick out this story. I think it was something with a vineyard. I think my allergies are up again. It's from 2006. Front Page Magazine 2014. Okay, front Page Magazine. They're definitely a skewed right-wing publication, but they're run by a very reliable source. I think his name is David Horowitz, who's a former Berkeley, I think, Well, I think I'm getting some interference here. So I'm going to wait till this is settled out. You can still hear me. I know that the room's emptied. Come back. Yes. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. It says Nancy Pelosi heads to border to find more illegal alien workers for vineyards. The grapes don't pick themselves. And this was her quote back then. It says the humanitarian crisis unfolding across our nation's southern border demands Congress come together and find thoughtful, compassionate, and bipartisan solutions, Pelosi said. We must ensure our laws are fully enforced so that due process is provided to unaccompanied children and the safety and well-being of unaccompanied children is protected. We must also work to address the root causes of the problem. And you know, I love Front Page Magazine. It's a guilty pleasure of mine because I usually don't use sources that are clearly on either side, unless, you know, it's the left, so that I can point out their own bullshit. It says the root causes are 1, social benefits for illegals, and 2, employment for illegals. Nancy Pelosi ought to know about that last one, since she has been accused of using illegal immigrant labor. Pelosi, who owns non-union vineyards in Napa Valley, where grape picking depends chiefly on the availability of cheap foreign labor, is doing everything she can to help open the floodgates to more illegal immigration. And she wants the American taxpayers to pay their way. As even more proof of this than I previously reported, Pelosi does not want employers like her to be required to pay the cost of illegal aliens' hospital care. She voted against a bill that would make employers liable for the reimbursements if an undocumented employee seeks medical attention, and she voted in favor of rewarding illegal aliens from Mexico with Social Security benefits. So, you know, let me see if I can find a little more mainstream of the article. I do like Front Page Magazine, though. I'm not gonna pretend I don't. I think they're good. Nah, it's not going to be today. Let me see if everything here is from like. I just want one. So this is from ThinkProgress from 2006. Now they admit that she uses. Now let's focus. I'm actually reading on the fly, but this is almost funhouse retardation here. Okay, funhouse circus, it clown retardation here. Here they say right-wing attacks on Pelosi over union hypocrisy systematically debunked. And what's their first point? Pelosi treats her workers better than unionized farm vineyard workers. Then what the fuck do you need a union for? What the fuck do you need a union for? Pelosi is prohibited by law from helping her workers organize. If Pelosi wanted to have union workers, she could not ask the union for a contract. It's illegal and has been since 1975. Mark Grossman of the United Farm Workers Union explains it is patently illegal for any grower to even discuss a union contract, which is the only way you can supply union workers without the workers first having voted in a state-conducted secret ballot election. An ABC News reporter asked Peter Schweizer if he had researched those facts before he called Pelosi a hypocrite. Schweizer responded, "It's not my responsibility to go and find out how every single particular circumstance is handled on the Pelosi vineyard." Why burden yourself with the facts, they asked. Well, the facts are very interesting. First of all, think about that. They're saying, oh, it's okay for her to have illegal immigrant workers that are non-union, even though she's a strong union supporter, because she pays those illegal immigrants better than she does union workers. And why doesn't she just hire? I mean, there are already United Farm Workers available. This is one of the biggest bitch excuses I've ever heard. Okay, they're basically saying, oh, she can't do it because the law prohibits people from organizing. Well, think about that. She was at the writing, I think. Let me see what date this was. November 29th, 2006. Well, this was right after the midterm elections of the Bush presidency, and she's the House Minority Leader. She's about to be the Speaker of the House, and she could have, for example, she could have agitated for California to pass laws that were in favor of letting these workers unionize. She could have done all those things, but she hasn't, because the fact of the matter is that she wants to use illegal immigrant labor because it's cheaper. And I mean, Monsignor Sprinkle says the Pelosi's pay $1.25 an hour more than workers at Napa's biggest union winery. Of the more than 300 vineyards, fewer than 4 are union, and most of the farm workers in the Napa Valley get paid better. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The whole point is that you just destroyed the whole union argument, because you're saying that in some cases workers make more regardless of whether there's a union or not. And the bottom line here, remember, is that they prefer to use illegal immigrant labor as opposed to legal labor or even legal immigrant labor. This is unbelievable. I mean, I'm going to add this to the description. So I guess I'm going to break my promise. I'm going to look at some of these comments after I mute this window, see if there is any comments. Okay. Looks like it's mostly Michelle and J-Man. I've never seen before. I think he interacted with me earlier today. Sound is a bit rocky. Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, I think you guys are on the same page as me, but I think we really have to get back to, what the real problem is. The real problem is that there's this culture of complacency when it comes to immigration. Okay, you cannot have a government policy that's truly for the workers if you're basically for importing people from foreign countries and having them perform labor that could be performed by people living here. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy to find people here, but the fact is that if we keep playing that stupid standard that sorry, I had this window that popped up, but if we keep playing by that stupid standard that, oh, Americans won't perform that, that's immigrant labor. Excuse me, doesn't that mean that you're treating certain jobs as if they're beneath the dignity of Americans? Doesn't that make you a little more racist? Doesn't that make you the capitalist exploiter and not me? My opinion is that these companies that employ illegal immigrants should probably be fined a little more. They should be taxed. That would be, you know what? If there's a tax that I'm in favor of, it's taxing corporations that use illegal immigrant labor at all. And you know what? We could use that tax for whatever the fuck we wanted. Forget taxing marijuana. I would say tax these assholes. If you want to go back, I mean, I don't know if you guys watch this guy. He's on YouTube. He's a creator. His name is The Hard Bastard. He did a live stream yesterday where he's actually breaking down Carlos Gutierrez, like I said, Bush's Commerce Secretary. This guy was basically talking the biggest shit that you ever heard about how America needs to let in more illegal immigrants and we need a larger labor force. Excuse me, have you looked at some of these cities in the United States, in Arkansas and in Kentucky and in, you know, all throughout the flyover states, Illinois? You want to go to any of these states, even states that vote blue, I don't give a fuck. Any of these states that vote, that you have large populations of people that are unemployed, you know, maybe a lot of them are veterans, maybe a lot of them are you know, they've had substance abuse issues. I mean, you go out into the country, the rural areas, and you see the people that are really affected by policies like DACA. And yes, California, they might have a little problem because of this. That they have a different issue than those other states. But you know, ultimately, when the Great Depression hit, and people started looking for work, they went west. Okay, now the government has decided, well, you know, if you can't find work, then you can't find work. We're just going to provide for you, and then we're going to tax other people in order to provide you money. But the people that make the most money, you know, these corporations and you know, our cronies, they're not going to get taxed. That's wrong, and that's not liberty, and that's not capitalism. That is basically an oligarchy, and I'm not going to stand for it. And that's why DACA is just another bitch fit of the pussy party. I'm just repeating the title. Just like the Joe Arpaio bullshit. Joe Arpaio, I'm not going to say, a lot of people are saying, oh, he's a hero or whatever. I don't really know that much. I don't give a shit. But you know, you have a sheriff who was performing whatever job he was elected to do, and you had the government sue him and try to put him in prison, and it did. And then they make up this retarded story that he wasted all these taxpayers' money because he went to court and lost, and that makes him a wasteful, irresponsible sheriff. Well, the government wasted all the money to sue him and convict him. That's where the real waste came in, okay? It's not him that wasted the money. It was the federal government that wasted the money to put him into prison and then house him, and so that they could let in more illegal immigrants for them to feed, house, educate, and heal. Okay, that's where the real waste is. That's the long and the short of it. It's all just a bitch fit. Just remember that. Anytime that they start, it doesn't even have to be on immigration, okay? I'm not against immigrants. I'm saying that the system is completely fucked where we have to fix it. But the next crisis, whatever it's going to be, whether it's the taxes or the Affordable Care Act, which they've already pitched a bitch fit over before, or, you know, Colin Kaepernick, whatever it is, it's a bitch fit. They don't really care about it. They could give a shit. They really don't care. They don't have a sense of this. Social justice is basically, you know, it's like burrito of the week for them, or Taco Tuesday, whatever you want to call it. Oh, it's Tuesday. We're gonna put on pussy hats to protest against, you know, there not being tampons in men's bathrooms too. Okay. Oh, I forgot my pink pussy hat today. I only have my you know, my fuchsia colored one. That's the way that they think. Okay, that it's all about the show. It's about the display, and they don't really have any substance behind it. The people that are really driving open borders are people that are on the you know, the corporate libertarian side, the wrong side of the libertarian spectrum, where they only care about the interests of multinational corporations. Think about it this way: they don't care that the rest of the country is getting taxed up the ass all the time, as long as they're not taxed up the ass and that they can import laborers. That's their libertarianism. It's not really in libertarianism of the individual. It's libertarianism of the corporations, which is that's what Gary Johnson was all about. That's why he was a failure. Do you realize that he was a failure because he was a libertarian only when it came to the rights of corporations? But if he didn't want to sell somebody a fucking cake, he was like, oh, you're a Nazi. Basically, I mean, he didn't say that explicitly, but that was his that was the spirit of what he said. And then you have all these people that are talking about what it, you know, the Constitution being a living, breathing document all the time. That's what they talk about. what they're called loose constructionists, and suddenly they're getting strict about what the president's powers are, whether he can repeal DACA or not. Well, when it was President Obama, you were loose as a fucking pair of granny panties. That's how loose they were. They didn't give a fuck what the law said. Oh, President Obama wants to solve a problem that Congress won't do. Oh, let's support DACA. That's what they said when DACA was put in place. Now suddenly they realize, well, I guess, yeah, there's nothing to keep it in place if the next president doesn't like it. It didn't even have to be Donald Trump. It could have been, let's say that Rick Santorum, for whatever reason, got elected. Not that would happen in a million years. By the way, tomorrow I might have a haircut. So all this stupid business going on where, you know, I got fucking locks fitting in the shots and stuff like that. You know, basically I'm getting photobombed by my own hair. That might come to an end, but it depends on whether I have another appointment in the way. So yeah, that's about it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for joining me. May have a live stream chat later with some other people if you want to comment. I know I didn't really focus a lot on the comments today. I'll take a look at them now, but I'm not gonna. I kind of want to get a little rest done. So I'll talk to you later. And yeah, remember, it's just a bitch fit.